hitting objects, being caught in or between machinery or equipment. Hazardous substances such as acids, hydrocarbons and asbestos. Extremes of temperature, radiation like microwaves, lasers, ultraviolet light, or welding arc flashes. Excessive noise. Biological agents such as bacteria and viruses. Psychological stress such as intimidation, violence, conflict, or time pressure. It's important to be able to identify hazards and to work with your employer to control them. There are 3 simple steps to making sure your workplace is safe and healthy. They're based on the belief that the workplace should be modified, as far as practicable, to suit people, not the other way round. These 3 steps are: spot the hazard, assess the risk, make the changes. Spot the hazard involves keeping an eye out for things which may cause injury or harm to a person, such as unguarded machinery, electricity, lifting heavy loads, flammable material, heat, unsafe access, chemicals, anything that can harm you.
Assessing the risk means judging the likelihood of a hazard which could harm someone. An important aspect to consider is the extent of training provided so that people can work safely with the hazard. Controlling the risk or making the changes is the most important step. It means controlling or eliminating the hazard to reduce the risk of a person being injured or harmed. You may need to use one or several of the following.
Remove the hazard at the source, eliminating the item or substance. Substitute it with a less hazardous item or substance. Isolate the hazard. Relocate it away from people. Add safeguards, such as safety barriers or exhaust ventilation. Adopt a safer procedure. Consider training and supervision. Finally, if there are still risks, use personal protective clothing or equipment. There are many situations where you can make the changes yourself. For instance, if you see a hazard you can rectify easily and safely, you should make the changes. Here, the electrical cables are an obvious hazard. It doesn't take much to pick them up and put them safely on the cable stand. But sometimes it isn't possible for you to take direct action. Here, the leakage from the drums is too hazardous to be dealt with directly. In these situations, report the hazard to your employer immediately. Your employer will then assess the risk and make the appropriate changes before an accident occurs. These 3 steps will help you stay on a safe and healthy path in your workplace. Remember to apply them to any new machines, processes or chemicals which might be introduced into your job. In addition to the 3-step principle, there are many safety and health resources available to you. Material safety data sheets, or MSDSs, are essential to help you keep up to date with the hazardous substances and materials you may be required to work with. Check with your supervisor about where to find them at your workplace and how to follow the advice. Make sure you refer to the MSDS before you handle any substances you're not familiar with, and to refresh your knowledge of ones you've used before. In and around your workplace, you may see various occupational safety and health signs placed there to warn you of hazards and the precautions you must take. Your employer or supervisor should tell you what these signs mean. In your workplace will require discussion and cooperation with your supervisor. There should be specific policies in place for dealing with occupational safety and health hazards, which will allow you to do your job safely. Ask your employer if you can read them.